very much for that awesome introduction. And I'm going to share my screen real quick here, guys. Well, I am Sandra Harry, and thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And I am the CEO of The Great Discovery. Before I get started, I do want to thank Elaine and this group for putting this together. You know, I haven't known about MAPS for too long, but the more I'm getting involved, the more I see the power of it and the need for it. So Elaine, thank you so much, especially with everything happening in the world today. It's just so needed. We just all get on autopilot, like many have shared today, and we just forget to stop. And I think this is a really great thing. So, all right. So I've got a question for all of you. And you can put your answers in chat real quick. And what is the one thing we all wake up with almost every single day of our lives? Just a second. I know we're crunched on time, so I don't have a lot of time. But what is the one thing? Can you think of anything? One thing that we all face almost every single day we wake up, before we even take a step out of bed? Thoughts, the cost of great health and wellness for everyone. Yeah, very good. Okay, but I've got something else. What about problems? We all wake up with, almost every day we wake up with problems. And based on my experience, we either have small problems that we're able to just overcome, and I call those jadeds. We just do it, right? We just go out and do it. But what about those challenging problems? What, the ones that they cause us stress, they cause us fear, they cause us anxiety, uncertainty. So how do you deal with those problems? What do you do? What do most people do? Well, unfortunately, most people just bury their heads in the sand and they don't do anything about it. So in school, we're taught to read, write, and do arithmetic. But where was the class on how to solve problems and how to succeed? I know I didn't get one. So it's not surprising that most people just don't go out and bury their heads in the sand. And what happens when we bury our head in the sand, guys? Unfortunately, the problems don't go away. They just get worse. They just get exponentially worse for us. They don't go away. So better yet, have you ever had that great idea, that huge, big idea, and it was going to be the best idea ever, and you were going to be so successful, and you were going to make so much money at it, right? Oh, wait, what happened? You went back to life. You didn't take action on it. You didn't plant that seed, didn't take it to fruition, didn't become reality because you didn't take action. And worse yet, sometime later, you see that idea that somebody else took it, I came up with it, and said, hey, you know what? They did it, and they became successful. So why did they become successful and you did not? And guys, I'll answer questions at the end. If you can hold till then, that would be great. But anyway, why did they succeed and you didn't? It goes back to this. We're taught to read, write, and do arithmetic, but we're not taught how to succeed or solve problems. So how can we change this? What can we do? Well, what if you had access to a time-tested, proven way of thinking that's teachable and repeatable? And listen to this, has over 40 years of proven success behind it, being used by large corporations all over the world, saving them billions of dollars. Just to get a glimpse of what that is and try and marry that into our lives, would that be something you'd want to learn? Well, that proven way of thinking is called The Great Discovery, and it's now available to everyone. The Great Discovery is the 4th generation of Six Sigma. So what makes The Great Discovery so great? You're probably asking that question. Well, I'm going to step back in time just a little bit. I know most of you probably know what Six Sigma is, but I'm going to just give you a little overview so you can understand. So Six Sigma is a business management system, and it was created back in the mid-80s at Motorola. Motorola was about ready to go bust. Literally, they were about ready to go under. And they had about 5 years to pull themselves out, or they were going to go broke. And a fellow named Bill Smith came up with an idea of Six Sigma, which is an 1,800 times improvement. 1,800 times, right? So he went to my late husband, who was Dr. Michael J. Harry, who was the co-creator with Bill Smith of Six Sigma. Michael put all the statistics and the math behind it. Bill coined the term Six Sigma. Six Sigma is responsible for saving corporations all over the world billions of dollars. So they saved Motorola, turned it around, Unfortunately, Bill Smith passed away in the first few months after the deployment of Six Sigma at Motorola, very sad. So Bob Galvin, who was the chairman of the board of Motorola, said to Michael, you know what, we have to take Six Sigma to the world. We can't keep it within Motorola. It has to go to the world. It's so powerful. The world of business needs it. So Michael was set on his way by Bob Galvin to go and take Six Sigma to the world. So I'm going to back up even one little step further. When Michael was doing his doctoral studies, he dreamt, and his goal was to create the world's best problem-solving system. And at the heart of Six Sigma, at its simplest form, that's exactly what it is. In fact, his logic filters that his doctoral thesis was on was the actual basis of Six Sigma. So Michael has deployed Six Sigma in corporations all over the world, saving billions and billions of dollars, guys. But he had a couple of events that changed his focus and where he went with Six Sigma. And I'm going to go through those two events because they are so vital to the path to the great discovery. The first event was at GE. General Electric was one of the most successful Six Sigma deployments of all times. Jack Welch was the CEO at the time. And I have to tell you, all in all, the deployment of Six Sigma saved GE over $8 billion, guys. I'm not talking million, I'm talking billion. So what happened is they were about 18 months into the deployment of Six Sigma. And Michael was sitting in Jack Welch's office one night. And could you imagine sitting in Jack Welch's office? That would have been amazing. But anyway, they're sitting there and they're talking. And at this point, they had saved $2.2 billion in 18 months. So very successful. So Michael asked Jack, hey, Jack, what has Six Sigma done for you? Jack replied, it has allowed me to reach out and touch the control function of the corporation. Michael said, great, Jack, that's exactly what it's supposed to do. Then Michael asked Jack, what has it not done for you? And Jack simply replied, what about my other 95%? Now, what did Jack mean by that? This is what he meant. Six Sigma touches 2 to 5% of a corporation. The other 95% don't really know what's going on. But what if you could take a simpler form of Six Sigma to the rest of the 95%? How much more savings or how much more production could they get out of that? It would be amazing. So Michael said to Jack, hey, Jack, I don't have an answer. You know, let's just keep doing what we're doing. We're making so dang much money. Let's just keep doing what we're doing. Jack said, okay, great. So that's what they did. So Michael did create white belts and yellow belts, and the belt system, white, yellow, green, black. Yes, it did come from the martial arts. Michael wasn't in martial arts when he was young, but the reason he brought it over into Six Sigma is because he felt like the belts were like ninjas. They would whack and hack at the cost and save money, and so he brought the belt naming convention over to Six Sigma. But Michael did create white and yellow belts to try and water Six Sigma down, but as he will admit, it didn't really work. So that was the first event that happened, the other 95%. Then later on, he was deploying at Ford, another highly successful Six Sigma deployment, and Jack Nasser was the CEO at the time. And Michael had asked Jack to dinner one night, and Jack arrived and sat down and said to Michael, what do I owe the pleasure of having dinner with you tonight, Michael? And Michael said, you know what, Jack, I'd just like to thank you for that big fat check. And Jack said, I would have doubled it if you could just teach us how you think. Now that stopped Michael in his tracks, he said, wow, what about the other 95% from Jack Welch and just teach us how you think from Jack Nasser? I mean, two great leaders, right, of American industry. How powerful was that? So Michael started to wonder right away, because his brain was amazing, you guys. He was such an incredible thinker. So he wondered, could he uncover the underlying cognitive roadmap that made Six Sigma so successful? Basically, identify the way of thinking without all those statistics and teach it to everyone. So could we move it from a tool set of using statistics and data and all the stuff we use in corporations to a mindset? So from that day forward, that was it. Michael shifted his focus from Six Sigma to the Six Sigma way of thinking, which he called the Great Discovery. So he went back through all of his records. Michael was a pack rat. He kept everything. So he went through all of his records of what made successful projects successful, what made those unsuccessful, created this huge card cataloging system and had a bunch of his colleagues help him over years. This took them, you guys, years to synthesize this down. He finally filtered that all down to what he calls 52 big ideas. From that, he continued to synthesize it down, and the proven path was born, which is called the Great Discovery. So I would like to take you through a little bit of the Great Discovery and touch on it so you can get an idea of what it is. We have 2 phases, we have 4 stages and 8 steps. The first phase we call innovation, and that has stages of do the dreaming and dream the doing, and then the steps. The next phase is called execution, where we plan the doing and we do the plan, and here's all the steps. So you can see it's a pretty simple path. And a lot of people say, wow, it's so simple, but when you actually try to do it, it is amazing what it will help you do. So this is the proven path as we lay it out. I love to call it the bubble model. That's what Michael called it. But you can see that we start here and we innovate from right to left. So we use convergent thinking here. We use visualization, some of the other speakers talked about today. Then we go from left to right and we execute along our path, okay? So I'm gonna go into each of the stages real quick and explain each one for you. So we start at do the dreaming. We start at actually looking out over the horizon. We dream big, we dream wide. We use that divergent thinking, so that we can dream wide and big, right? We want to think about what do we want to achieve? Our mission is our first step. What do we want to achieve? What's our dream, goals, aspirations? So we use divergent thinking to do that. Now I'm going to give you an example real quick of a mission that you could use. You could do getting healthy. All of us are always trying to do that, right? Or changing your career could be a mission. Those are great missions. So once we declare our mission, then we identify our intrinsic core values. And the core values, that is the heart of the Great Discovery, and this is why. Our core values are set in this by the time we're about 8 or 9 years old, and they stay with us. They can shift over life events, they can shift and change. And I will say that a life event of losing Michael made my values shift, so it does happen. But there's something of worth, utility, importance to us individually. Okay? That's the power of the Great Discovery, is the critical breakthroughs that we take the alignment of your core values to your mission. And it greatly increases your odds of success, is what that does, because you then have the ability to live out those core values on a daily basis. The freedom of choice to live those out on a daily basis because your mission is in alignment with your core values. Have you guys ever been doing something that is just off? It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel good to you. It's because it's not in alignment with your values. People unhappy in their jobs, unhappy in relationships, just unhappy in life because they're not living their core values out every day. And that is a big problem. I think it is. So the next step we do is we go into our catalyst stream, okay? And the catalyst is the thing that sets in motion our ability to live out that mission and our core values. So I want to stop here for a second and tell you guys a little story, okay? When Michael and I were sitting at home one night, and we'd been teaching our friend Roxanne, she had a business, and we were teaching her the Great Discovery and her team. And Roxanne called one night and said, hey, can I stop by? I've got my sister Jay with me. And we said, absolutely, right? They came in and Jay was crying. She was crying. And I said, Jay, what's wrong? She goes, nothing's wrong. She goes, I wanted to come by and thank you guys. And we're like, well, okay, but what did we do? She goes, you saved our marriage, my marriage, you saved my marriage. And Michael and I looked at each other like, oh my goodness, how did we do that? And she proceeded to tell us that she had learned the Great Discovery from us through work. But when you learn the Great Discovery, it's a second order change. It's not something you can go back to thinking your old way, and it sticks. So you will use it in your personal life, your home life, your work life. It becomes your way of thinking. She said, I shared it with my husband, and he decided, he looked at it and he said, well, why don't we use this on our marriage? And they did. and they put their marriage back together. These guys were planning to get a divorce for a few years. They were waiting for their last child just to leave the house and go off to college. So they used the Great Discovery. It saved their marriage, and they said they had been happier than they had been in years. And it was amazing. Michael and I never thought it could be used for something like that, but it proved to us how powerful it is. So what we do is we do the dreaming here, and then the next stage we go to dream the doing. This is where we think about how we're going to get to one critical milestone to the next. And this is where we use that visualization. What do we want it to look like, right? We've got to plan how we're going to get to our catalyst and mission and live out our core values. So some of these milestones along the way are going to be more difficult than others. And some of them, just like those easy problems, are jaded, right? We just do them. But some of them are difficult, and we have to use the Six Sigma way of thinking, SWOT is what we call it, to be able to get forward momentum to move from one to the next. So our next stage is plan the doing. This is the other key to the Great Discovery. This is where we work on forces. What are the driving forces that are moving us forward? And what are the restraining forces in our lives that are holding us back? Guys, this is powerful, okay? So our goal here is to identify driving forces that we can empower and make them greater, and to reduce our restraining forces so we can create that forward momentum so we can move forward from one milestone to the next. So the next phase is do the plan. This is where the rubber meets the road, as Michael used to say. This is where we actually identify and engage those actions that are going to drive our forces, either increase our drivers, reduce our restraining forces, and help us move forward. So this is where we actually start executing. So you can see now that the Great Discovery can exponentially increase your odds of success and help turn your ideas or dreams into reality. So I talked earlier that we are taught in school to read, write, and do arithmetic, right? But we're not taught how to succeed or do problems. So what if we could get the Great Discovery into our educational systems? And Michael had the privilege of presenting this to Carnegie Mellon some years back, but it was so early on, they just were not ready for it. We now have been granted the privilege to do a pilot, guys, with a senior high class. We will be piloting it this fall. We are also starting a series of children's books to start introducing the ideas of the Great Discovery between grades 1 and 3. So we're very excited. We have been working a long time to get the Great Discovery ready to go, and that it's going into a high school as a pilot has been just an epic event for us. So we're very, very, very proud and very happy to share that with you. But so here's what we're doing, okay? Elaine kind of pushed me to get the Great Discovery ready, and Tim has been pushing me to get it to ready. And I think we all know the feeling is my baby good enough yet, right? And it's tough sometimes to say, oh my gosh, I have to start developing and I have to let people see it, right? Well, we're at that point, and Miss Elaine Sugar, thank you for pushing me to get the system ready to be able to go into pre-launch, okay? We are actually going to be pre-launching globally in June of this year. So thank you for that, Elaine. But and that is going to be pre-launching for about $497, and that's access to our whole online learning management system that we've built, plus coaching options. We've got some very high caliber executive coaches that will be helping coach. But for you guys today, I wanted to be able to do something special. You guys would be the first group they're going to be able to get in and experience the Great Discovery. We're going to bring the price down to $247, and you're going to have access to this for life, guys, for life, plus 2 hours of executive coaching. And yes, I am one of those, and I would love to work with all of you. So if you would like, go ahead and sign up. Here's a little information. www.thegreatdiscovery.com. There's a coupon code, which is MAPS. Should be able to remember that one. It's pretty simple. I will also put this in the chat when I'm done so you guys can pick it up there. Okay, so it's a special program just for you guys today. All right. Also, I've got a great gift, you guys. You can go out to the website, thegreatdiscovery.com. It's on the very first page, homepage. Scroll down a little bit. This is a discovery novel. You can download it right here on Read More. This is a novel that Michael wrote with my business partner, Kathy Lawson, who was in his very first black belt class back in Motorola in the 1980s. And Kathy and I are both very passionate about the Great Discovery. She's helped me continue to develop it since Michael left us. So it's really great. But anyway, very powerful little novel, give you some real great insights as to what it has done for people.